How do Salesforce admins help organizations manage projects?
Awesome Admin!
Welcome to How I Solved It, where we dive into a business challenge and show how one awesome admin chose to solve it. I'm Jillian Bruce, Principal Admin Evangelist at Salesforce, and today I am joined by awesome admin Sarah Pilzer. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Jillian. It's great to be here.
Sarah, it's even more great for me to have you here because we're going to talk today all about project management. We've got an amazing demo planned, and we're going to be talking about some other awesome admin skills, including transferable skills. But before we get started, I need to quickly share our forward-looking statement. It's just a reminder to make all your purchasing decisions based on currently available technology. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get going. Sarah, in your 6 years as a Salesforce admin, you've no doubt managed a lot of different Salesforce projects. Can you tell us a little bit about how you approach a project?
Sure, Jillian. I usually start a new project by identifying who the project manager will be, if it's not myself, and anyone else who will be part of the project team. We use Slack at my organization, so we'll then go ahead and create a Slack channel that is specific to the project so we can post updates and questions all in one place. After that, the most important part of my job as project manager is to keep a regular schedule of check-ins to make sure that the project's moving along. And these could be short updates or longer meetings, but it's important to communicate early and often throughout the project.
Now, let's talk a little bit about why admins are so well positioned in their organizations to act as a project manager. What's your perspective on that?
As an admin, you likely have already cultivated relationships with many of the typical stakeholders, such as your end users, developers if you work with them, even your executives. You also have a big picture understanding of how your company uses Salesforce. So when you're considering a new feature or a change to an existing one, you already have the knowledge needed to assess the impact on your instance as a whole.
You make a great point there, Sarah. So talk to me a little bit more about what's involved with managing a Salesforce project.
Usually, a project starts when someone comes to me needing help. For example, keeping track of where everything is at, the milestones for a project, or next steps. I'll listen to them to understand their needs and what the requirements are, the challenges they're facing, and then I like to work with them to put together a solution to solve their problem.
Hey, you know what they say, teamwork makes the dream work. So Sarah, can you walk us through an example of one of these solutions and how you use Salesforce to help solve the problem?
Sure, Jillian. Let me show you how I solved it. To set up my demo, I need you to use your imagination. Let's say that you are the executive director of the Otter Appreciation Society, a nonprofit that raises funds to protect otter habitats, and I am the organization's solo admin.
Done. I love otters. This ought to be good.
Oh boy, here come the puns. I can tell that we're gonna get along swimmingly. Anyway, OAS is a busy nonprofit, and we have a lot of projects going on across multiple departments in the organization. As the executive director, you told me that you have a hard time keeping track of everything and don't always know who to ask about where things are and what milestones are coming up next.
Got it. So I'm tracking everything in my head or on some sticky notes all over my desk. And as the leader of the organization, it's really important that I have a better handle on what's going on so I can help focus our fundraising efforts and save the otters. Help me.
Don't worry, I got you covered. Because you mentioned that you were tracking everything in random places like your head, I looked at the way that the organization plans and runs our projects. And I decided to build an app in Salesforce to manage and track everything in one place that everyone in the organization can access to act as the single source of truth.
Okay, this sounds amazing, but what do you mean when you say you built me an app?
Well, let me show you. First, let's take a look here at your homepage. You can see the current projects, upcoming milestones, and other important information without even having to click into anything.
Sweet. I knew I ought to be excited to see what you come up with. Now, tell me a little bit more about these elements. How did you architect this app so that it keeps track of everything?
More puns? You oughter be ashamed of yourself, Jillian. But let's talk about console apps. I built this app as a console app because it maximizes the space on the page, and you can open up multiple records at the same time. Let me show you more about that. I created a custom projects object with milestones and project tasks as related objects. That means that each project can have multiple milestones and tasks. I created a custom project tasks object because the standard tasks object didn't have what I needed in order to capture our specific project process. Because this is a console app, when I want to view a project, I select the object and it opens a list view. From here, I select a specific project and it opens in its own workspace tab. If I click on a link to a related milestone or task, they open as subtabs of the project to keep everything together all neat and tidy. If I want to view a different project, I can click to open the sidebar and then open another project in its own workspace tab. Now, I can easily flip back and forth between projects to view the different collections of related records, each in their own tab.
Got it. I really appreciate, Sarah, that you made the distinction between knowing when to build a custom object versus using a standard one. That's some awesome admin strategy right there. So what happens when I create a new project?
To create a new project, you can click this button, which is a global action I created. The great thing about global actions is you can access them from anywhere in Salesforce to create new records at any time. Here, you'll see a form pop up to create your new project, along with pre-populated fields to capture the data we need. You can also see that the project can be linked to any of our current fundraising campaigns with donations that we have in our org, since we've installed the Nonprofit Success Pack. When we open the new project, there's a path component on the record page to help guide us through each stage of the project. It's important to select a project manager and project sponsor early in the process. So those are the key fields that I chose to highlight during the initiating phase.
All right, this is super helpful. I love this because this way I really get a complete picture of how each project relates to our fundraising efforts. So let's say I wanted to update one of the tasks on the project. What happens then?
Great question. You may have noticed on the home screen that we had some overdue tasks. Let's complete one of those by clicking the Mark Complete button on the task record. When you mark the task as complete, then the automation I built kicks in and the milestone status is updated. Because this was the final milestone in the planning phase of the project, that phase is now complete and the project automatically moves into the execution phase.
I love it. This means we're not relying on everyone to update the status on their own. They only have to update the task. But you said automation. Now I want to see how you built it. Can you show me?
Of course. Here are the flows I've built. First, let's take a look at the flow when a task updates a milestone. I created a flow that takes place once the task status is marked as complete. The flow will then check for any remaining open tasks on that milestone, and if there aren't any, then the milestone is also updated as complete. Next, let's look at the milestones updating the project's flow. I used the same strategy so that when a milestone is complete, the project phase is updated accordingly.
Boom! I love a simple set of flows. They for sure make me happy. Why did you architect them that way?
You just can't kelp yourself, can you? Anyway, I love automation too. Not only is the simplicity beautiful, but it keeps things easy to maintain in the future. A good naming convention also helps with that, but it's probably a topic for another day.
This is really great, Sarah, but I want more. I'm an executive director after all. What happens with all this data now that you're capturing it for the projects? Is there a way I can use it or see it?
Absolutely, Jillian. That's one of the great things about using Salesforce. Each project, milestone, and task is captured by the system. And that's why I can build you an overview dashboard to help you get the insights like how many projects are in which status, what's coming soon, and even trends over time so that you can plan for the future. Take a look at how we've grown as an organization over the years. We now have more projects than ever to track, so it's a good thing that we have all the tools we need to stay on top of that.
Well, that's officially some awesome admin awesomeness. Thank you, Sarah, for showing us that amazing demo and showing us how you solved it. Now, Sarah, one of the things that I saw in your demo was that incredible dashboard. Can you talk to us a little bit about why data analysis is such an important skill for Salesforce admins?
Yeah, nonprofits are all about furthering a mission to make the world a better place to live. So customized dashboards keep users and executives focused on those goal-oriented stats that show how well we're achieving what we've set out to accomplish, or where there's room for improvement.
Now, something closely related to both project management and data analysis is business analysis. That's all about improving the efficiency of business operations. Do you have any suggestions as to how admins can add value to their business by improving efficiency?
I would say build strong relationships with your users to better understand their needs, and then you can identify opportunities for improvement. You can do this through casually chatting with somebody or observing while they do their work to see how the processes you have built either help or hinder them in getting things done.
Sarah, that is fantastic advice. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about something I know you're very passionate about, and that's transferable skills. In your previous career, you did something that had nothing to do with Salesforce at the face value of it. You studied fish sounds as a marine biologist, which is super, super cool. What are some of the skills that you learned as a marine biologist that helps you today in your career as a Salesforce admin?
You know, it really doesn't matter what your education or career background is. There are always transferable skills that you can apply to be an awesome admin. Scientists are like Salesforce admins in that we're all about the data. I definitely learned the value of keeping my notes and records organized, so when it came time for analysis, I could easily draw conclusions from what I observed. We just talked about why data analysis is so important, and that's something I first learned as a biologist.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This has been so fun talking about project management. Thank you for being our guest today on How I Solved It. Now, if you'd like to learn more about what you saw in today's episode, please visit admin.salesforce.com. And with that, I'm Jillian Bruce, and I'll catch you next time in the cloud.